welcome. My name is Carrie Zier. I'm the VP of EXP Luxury, and welcome to Luxury Legends and Leaders. You know, this is one of my favorite things that we do, which is the once a month, the fourth Thursday, or what day are we? Fourth Wednesday. Every month, we do this at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you for all those that are tuning in. You know, this month has been exceptional. When I look at what we're doing in our luxury sector within EXP, we host once a quarter at least a huge summit is what we call it. But it's really a mastermind when we bring these great minds from around the industry together for 3 hours. And if you've ever been on one of our Zooms, you know, they are certainly a marathon, but Jeremy, we do not make those boring, do we?
It's probably one of the coolest events that I'm actually be a part of, because literally it's a plethora of like anywhere from 5 to 15 experts that come on and they share exactly what they're doing. Like this session was all about winning the listing. And so sharing exactly what's winning the listing in their market. And literally agents from all across the world are tuning in and literally learning these elements, the small pieces that's moving their needle in their business. And that's really what they're about is the communities coming together to say, hey, what can we do to make an impression on your business? And so so much stuff was shared. I mean, I probably had 6 pages of notes and literally I was just part of the hosting of it. And I thought it was so cool to hear all that.
Well, Jeremy, I do want to brag on you. I mean, you have co-hosted these many times with me. I think all of them, but maybe one in the last 2 years. So you are a great part of that. And, you know, every one of them has a different theme. This one was all about win the listing. And win the listing is so important in any market. You know, you and I were talking behind the scenes of really, if you look at real estate, one of the questions I get asked a lot is really number one question is, how can I be a luxury listing agent? And if you think about it, there's so many things you can do when it comes to real estate, but being that top luxury listing agent is truly one of the pinnacles of the business, because as we know, listings are leveraged, list to last. I mean, we have all these sayings, but they are very, very true. And it's something I've been passionate about really my entire career. I started off as a listing luxury agent, but I had no idea, of course, then where I would go to now. But you know why I am so passionate about this type of stuff and bringing in speakers and really giving back to the industry is because that's how I learned. You know, I was at everything. And what I love about, you know, really our industry and especially EXP specifically is just the willingness for everyone to stand up and pour out, you know, their information. The speakers that we've had on Win the Listing were absolutely incredible. And, you know, just for them to give their time. And I've had a lot of different requests throughout all these masterminds. But the number one on this one has been, can we get the recording? Can we get the recording?
It's like nonstop. And I love it because that means they got a lot of value out of it. So much value, they want to rewatch some of those parts. And I think that's the coolest part is you know, we've all been on the webinars and the workshops where, you know, it's just like you sit through and you got these little nuggets every few 20, 30 minutes. But this one was like every 2 minutes I was writing something down to be like, okay, that's a good piece. I'm just a coach side. So I'm just saying what else, what can I take the value from this and inject it into other agents? And I think you hit the nail on the head earlier when you talked about, you know, how do agents become those luxury listing experts, right? Because I think there are probably agents on here listening saying, hey, if we could just improve our current average right now, I think that would be massive. And welcome in, Pete. So excited to have you, buddy.
Hello, Pete Middleton.
Hi, guys. I know Carrie Zier is riding high right now with her Vegas Golden Knights.
I try not to confuse the two with luxury and that, but yes, for all you listeners, my husband's been with the Vegas Knights since the inception of Vegas. So I'm literally here in Vegas. It was a long, fabulous night, but we won the conference final. So off to the Stanley Cup final. So my voice is a little hoarse today as I was screaming at the top of my lungs. So,
hey guys, here's the deal. Pete was actually part of the summit we held. Was it this week? I can't remember what day it was. I don't know when it was.
Yeah, it was. I know it's crazy. Last week.
Yeah.
And so we shared so much, guys, and literally, you know, I could talk to Pete about it for a lot of things, but honestly, he brought the fire in terms of, you know, he was the most requested. But to be honest with you, I heard a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Your slide, your deck, the content you shared is probably one of the most requested ones we've seen fill my inbox with after people wanting the decks and stuff. So, you know, your part was, it was crucial to people, help people understand why we do what we do, and then also how to get to those luxury listing levels, talking about the pricing strategies, talking about the elements behind the scenes that most people don't think about. And I think that's the key to figure out this luxury listing and how to be an expert at it, meaning to bring them in consistently, not just one every 6 months, right?
Well, and I want to brag on you, Pete. You know, I love how you say things. I love how you articulate it and share your knowledge, but also to brag on you. I mean, to have a listing luxury career like you have in San Diego, but not only that, how you expanded into the Nashville market out towards Franklin specifically has just been extraordinary. To do that in 2 markets so successfully. And I really want you to give them some some backstory on, you know, how did you even do that? Because most people, it's very difficult to do it in one city, much less 2. But I think obviously with your systems that you have in place and just, you know, your methodology is amazing. So welcome to the show, Pete. We're so happy to have you back.
Thanks for having me, you guys. That was a really nice intro.
Before you talk about that, I want to set the stage with, you've set foundations in your business. I think that's a big piece that a lot of agents don't do off the bat. You've got these certain foundations. So my guess is, and I'm sure you'll be able to answer this, is when you made that transition to say, all right, not just in this market, but across the country into this other market, how do we do that? And my guess is you have these foundations set up in place to make it a little bit easier. And what were some of those foundations?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I like that you're touching upon foundations and systems and processes. You know, no matter where you go, if you have luxury systems and processes in place, you can carry those to other markets. Is it easy? No, it's not easy. But you have to have a strategy, you have to have a plan. And the biggest thing too is you want to speak into existence what you want, right? So you really got to map it out, take massive action, and execute. And that's what we did. It wasn't easy. I had to move my family for a lot of different reasons. And I'm grateful that I was able to do it and land where I landed. And I have great people around me, right? But one of the biggest contributing factors that really helped that transition even easier was EXP Luxury. I mean, and I always say to people, look, if you don't know, you don't know. And you got to get involved, because the tools that EXP Luxury has provided to me to work in multiple markets has been phenomenal. And that's really been the North Star of my business and my journey and where I'm going with my luxury business. So I think if you want to get more luxury listings, you know, all of these pieces play a role. And I'm sure Ed will speak on this too. You know, it all comes down to your image in your systems and your marketing and how all these pieces click together. And most agents don't know how to start, and they don't know where they're going. And we help that. We map out that plan step by step. How do you start? How do you break in? Where do you go from here? What can you take out of this and really get some traction, right? Because my topic was not taking overpriced listings, which is really challenging in this type of market. But, you know, I'll kick this off by saying this. Some of the best listings I ever took were the ones I didn't initially take.
That's good.
All right. And a lot of people don't understand that. But I believe that if you tell people the truth and you show them the data, and it's tricky because some people have a set price in mind. You know, like I always say, attention is worth more than trying to pad a price. I think when you have more attention on a property and you have a hot property and you believe in it, you know, you're going to achieve their goals. So that's what I would say on that topic.
Yeah,
Well,
so
like
sad.
you said, the mastermind was extraordinary, and you two were a huge part of it. And there were so many favorite parts in that, especially when you role played. And we may have to ask you to do at least one on
Okay.
here because I know that was the favorite. But Ed Kaminsky, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you. Ed's a frequent guest on everything. You just are so amazing on how you give back to our community, and especially EXP Luxury, but to our industry. And let's step back because we have introduced the win the listing, but I think a lot of questions that we had even on the summit, and I have gotten emails and constant wanting the recordings and all this, which if you were on there, the recording is going out today, so don't worry. But a lot of that is, did you start out as a luxury listing agent? And if not, like, how did you get there? How do you get to where you guys are? I mean, that's the goal. That's what people aspire to be.
I've talked about this before. It's easy to talk about myself, but I will say there's no same identical one path to get there. There are multiple paths. My path was, I started out as extremely hungry agent wanting to build a real estate business and make a lot of money. That's how I started out. I did not have comfort dealing in the high end. I was a little intimidated by it. What I wanted to really understand was the real estate business, how to sell, how to put deals together, how to deal with problems, how to solve the problems, and how to sell 50 houses a year. I thought that's what success was. It wasn't just selling a luxury home. And so I did everything I could do to figure out how to manage my schedule and my time and my clients to do 50 deals. And when I got to 50 deals, then it was like overnight confidence put into me. It felt like, and I said, bring the high end. Why am I not in it? Why am I way over in this, $200,000 market when there's a $1 million market in my neighborhood and I'm not touching it? And so I literally made the switch at that moment when that confidence was instilled in me. And I said, I'm not going to call expired listings below a certain price. I am going to market into the higher end neighborhoods. And so I didn't say no to people that were below a certain price. I just didn't market to people that were below a certain price. And that's how I elevated to the next level. And then I pushed it up again and pushed it up again. Well, that was my process. But then I've met people like you, Carrie, and others that they walk in and they feel like they belong in the luxury market and they've never sold a house. And like, of course you should buy a $10 million home from me. I had an agent on my team like that, and their first sale was $8 million. And it was just normal for her. Well, it wasn't normal
like
for me.
that, it's still, I never stopped learning though. It wasn't like I got that. And I think we said it on one of our mini masterminds, anybody, the education piece, as you touched on, is huge. It's learning that business. And to me, never stop learning. And that's what, I love about you guys. You're always pouring into the industry, but you're always at the events, front row seat, learning and, doing additional things. So I love that you brought that out, because a lot of people say, what, is there a secret to it? I don't know if there's a secret. I think it's just a lot of heart and hustle. And like you said, going for it. And go ahead, Jeremy.
I think the coolest part about what they said was, and what I love about this is, everybody could do this differently. Like, if you're watching this right now, guys, and you're only doing $400,000, $600,000 listings, and you just want to take your price point to that next level, that could be that luxury market in your area. Here's the cool part. All you have to do is build trust, right? You have to build your brand right. That's huge, because both these guys have done that very, very well. And I truly believe that if you build your brand right and you get your systems and your foundations right, you could probably move into any market and literally dominate within a year or two. Like, that's what my belief is, as long as you have your systems and processes right. Because here's the deal. There's agents out there that don't have their systems and process right. There's agents out there that don't have their branding right. There's agents out there that are hidden on social. There's agents out there that they're not present. And so here's the world we're living in, right? We live in this world of AI. We live in this world of roboticism all over the place, right? Automations and all that stuff. if we could accomplish two things, I would start over. If I was starting over and I want to accomplish two things, I would be human. I would be myself, be authentic. And then I would also start building a brand that's recognizable. That's what I would do. That's what Coke did. That's what Pepsi did. That's what all the top players did in the business world is they became, how can I say the best word? They became known. They became present in the market. And so that was the game-changing factors. And so you can figure the rest of it out. Figure the presentations out later. Figure out, your scripts and all that stuff. Figure that out later. That's not important. What's important is for you to be present in the market. I was just the last thing. I was at a workshop recently teaching on AI, and I made some people upset because I said, I promise you I could break into any one of your guys' markets, like 300 agents in attendance. I said, I could walk into any of your markets, give me 6 months and about, I don't know, $1,000 in Facebook ads, and I would literally be the known person in your market, hands down. And they were like, no. And I was like, yeah, I can. I promise you I could. And because I could build a brand well, and I could also be seen well. And that's what politicians know. That's what government officials know. That's what local businesses know. If you're present and you're seen with the people you want to be, do business with, you've got 90% of it taken care of.
I'm going to give some specifics to that, Jeremy, because I call it the fence. Okay. I want to fence in every potential seller that exists in my marketplace so I can get on the interview list. And so I want them, no matter which way they turn, they hit my fence. And so what my fence is, and I wrote down 8 things that just right off my head as you were talking about being present, about being known. Some of this takes time, some of this takes dollars, some of it takes energy, some of it takes boldness. But here's what I wrote down. Your open house signs. And these are not in order, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, there's 9 because the 9th's probably the most important to me. Open house signs. So if you're literally littering the neighborhood with open house signs, don't put out 3, put out 30, if the city allows it. Right. And then people get inundated with your name every weekend. Your for sale signs are probably your best advertising you could ever have. So getting a listing, just get the listing, get your for sale signs out there. Social media, clearly it's the thing of today. It was not the thing when I got started. And that's the fast track, by the way. I was thinking, this is the fast track to elevating your business. I didn't have this. All I had was what was in my head and what I had to do. I couldn't go look at what other people did. It wasn't visible. It wasn't out there. Number 4, I wrote down direct mail. Obviously, if you're hitting a geographic area, the same thing you said that you can get famous with Facebook, you can get famous with direct mail. There's been there was a survey done of homeowners that said who was the number 1 agent in their neighborhood, and a survey got put out. And that was before any direct mail went out. And there were 6 different answers. Yep. Then they put out a fake realtor's name and did direct mail for 6 months every month. Then they asked the survey again. And it was like 75% had voted for the fake realtor. Didn't even exist.
Crazy.
So that can impact your marketplace. Next is print. Okay. Print meaning if there's local, affordable real estate advertising in your marketplace, you can get your press there. Knocking doors is huge. Events, local events, charity events, neighborhood events, press, if you can get any press at all from PR. And then number 9, I wrote down the phone, right? I made my money in the phone. I pick up the phone, I talk to people.
I think that's the biggest part, Ed, is picking up the phone. I literally called 7 agents that are members in my Level Up community this week. I literally called them, which they're not used to. They usually email them or text them. And 3 replied. The rest didn't even get me back. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I'm not trying to sell something. I'm trying to give them something. Like, I'm trying to talk to them. And I'm like, is that the world we're in, that we don't pick up the phone?
I learned a lesson, the same thing. I learned a lesson last week. I'm holding an event for my past clients, and we're calling a summer bash and come out for a barbecue and hang out. and we're counting on an email or direct mail piece to get them there. Yep. But yesterday, my lawyer's assistant called me and said, we're having our 50th anniversary down at the harbor, and we'd love for you to be there, and you didn't respond to the invitation. I'm like, you know what? I don't even remember getting the invitation, but I want to be there. I want to go down the harbor. And I said, okay. But it was a live phone call that made the difference. Yeah. And if they were counting on email or direct mail invitation for me to show up, chances are I wouldn't have showed up.
And a trick to that, Ed, is literally, I just worked with another agent this morning about it. We just sent out 50 text messages with a video. It was all 15-second videos. We just sent it out to about 50 of their clients. They're doing the same kind of event here locally. And I helped them send the text message out. And I already got a message from like 20 minutes ago that says they got 14 replies. And I'm like, it's not that hard. Like, record a video, send it, be done.
But I do think it's going that extra mile. We get asked all the time. I have open house. People have open houses and they have no one come. And like you said, it's not that. It's, did they know about it? Did it get lost in their emails? But anything personal in that handwritten note, that personal phone call going, but that is luxury. We talk about it is the service part of this business that makes it luxury. We talked about so many different topics on the Win the Listing Summit. We went really rapid fire, although we would go into them for about 10, 15 minutes, but there's just so much. When you are looking at your business and you're coaching a newer agent, there's the behind the scenes before you even get to the listing. Then there's the actual trying to get the listing while you're sitting down with the seller. And a lot of people think that is the hardest part. Do you think getting the appointments are the hardest part, or do you think servicing the listing is the hardest part?
I think both are really important, because if we're talking about luxury, Carrie, maintaining the listing and getting an extension on the listing is as important as getting the listing, because especially if you're discovering this niche, there's a very good chance you're taking a listing overpriced. This is the biggest mistake most agents breaking into luxury do, is they just want the signature, and the seller says, I want, $4.8 million. And you're like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And I sign it. And then for the next 6 weeks, like, why is no one seeing my house? Why is no one seeing my house? Why don't you have offers? Why don't you have offers? And so learning to maintain and keep the listing and communicate with the seller properly, strategically during that time becomes as critical as getting a listing.
I agree. Pete, any feedback on that?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to sit here and say to everyone it's not important to get the listing appointments, but you have to have a process before you go in to get the listing. Number one, you have to be really good at pre-framing the data, the market conditions, and what's happening, right? And what I always say to people, I always ask people, what's the most important thing for you to accomplish? That's my number one question before I even get started. And then I ask them what also is important. And I get even more input. And then the question after that, I say, okay, from 0 to 10, you invited me into your beautiful house. How honest do you want me to be with you?
Yeah.
They always say 10.
They do.
I'm going to tell you the truth, right? I'm going to be honest. So I think that's really important when you're taking those types of listings. A lot of people don't have a system. They kind of walk in, they wing it. And you can't do that. You have to kind of have a system. Now, I'm not saying the questions or the conversation or the communication what may not go a different direction. It will. But you have to be really good at listening. And what I try to do is every time somebody asks me a question, I try to ask them a follow-up question. Every single time. It's like playing tennis, right? So if they hit the ball to me, I hit it right back to them. And I'm going to discover a lot of things on what's motivating them, what's their timeline, where are they going, why are they doing this? Because let's face it, and I'm being honest with everyone here, selling your house is a huge pain in the ass, especially in this market, right? And we have colleagues in real estate, even in luxury real estate, that are not that well trained, not great at communication. You want to change your business? I'll give you the number one tip to change your business right now. Answer your phone. 99% of the agents don't do it, you guys. I get more business in markets that I just broke into because I answer my phone. Everybody says the same thing. Oh God, I didn't know you were going to answer your phone. Well, didn't you just call my phone? Yes. If I'm capable of answering it, I'm going to answer it. Otherwise, I'll text you and say, I'll call you right back. And guess what I do? I call them back. Wow. I mean, God, what a concept. So do what you say you're going to do and be really good at communicating. And like we talked about at Win the Listing, you know, in this type of market, I'm seeing some of the comments in the chat. A lot of people are saying, hey, I have the luxury listings. I'm just not getting a lot of showings. Right. And we have to take a different approach. I'm there with you. I have listings that aren't getting a lot of showings too. But I'm always like a mad scientist tinkering around and shifting things and changing things and doing new write-ups and changing around photos. And I keep it fresh. You know, I think the number one mistake people make in this market is they get complacent. If you want anything to happen, you have to take massive action. Come up with something. Come up with a concept. Come up with the craziest idea you ever had in your life. But you have to do something. You can't stay status quo and think that it's going to sell or get ahead. It just won't happen.
And I think it's okay to fail, right? It's okay to not get showings right now, but you have to figure out what your plan is to get showings. And your plan, you know, ultimately, there's so many options. It's about exposure. That's the number one thing, right? Yes. A listing needs exposure. And so what are you doing as an agent to create exposure? I just did a big, huge workshop on this recently, and we came to like 4 or 5 big things. And really it has to, you know, are they in the portals, right? Are they where people are seeing them? Are they in all the portals, not just a select few or hiding, right? Number 2, do the photos actually do it justice? Like I've seen so many luxury photos, I'm almost like scrolling through and I'm like, what the heck was that? Like you got to think, you know, if people are going to stop their scrolling because of that photo, you got to have, you know, the right lighting. You got to have the right look. You got to have the right feel. Is your first line of your description good? Not just 3-bedroom, 5-bath. That's stupid. That's ridiculous. They want to know, is it have a awesome pool, or does it have a, you know, hot tub or a sauna? Like that's the stuff that people want. It's
the story.
It's about the story of the home, right? And then obviously, do you have Instagram reels on them? Do you have stories on them? And here's the one that I see agents failing all the time. Did you actually email out this listing to your entire database? Because I get so many answers when I do coaching one-on-one sessions. And that's my number one thing. I said, did you actually tell your database about this property? And they're like, well, I don't want to buy. Are you kidding me? That's what we're here for.
Well, and the other problem is they don't have a database. They haven't been working.
That's a whole other problem that we could talk about later.
I know. That's another can of worms. But those are the 2 feedbacks that we get. That's for sure. You two are just amazing on really just your questions, how you answer your clients, and but I do think that does take practice. It takes, knowing those questions to ask. And I love how you bounce off of those, during Win the Summit, one of the best parts when you both role played. So Jeremy, I don't know if we can't see the listeners out there, but if they have any questions that they would love Pete and Ed to answer, they are the very best when it comes to scripting and really role playing. I know that on the summit, we did, of course, as always, commission is one of them, but also, pricing. But if there's anything else that any of the listeners would love to know, send us a question. We love to get those.
I think while they're waiting for these guys is if you guys have any issue with the deal, I think what the role playing really did was it elevated the trust that the client would have with the agent. So like, for example, if you ands and ums and you don't know what to say next, or you're kind of waiting, you don't have a response that it's planned out, at least the thought process is planned out, then you automatically lose trust. It's the same thing. People go, the way I kind of summarize this thing is, if you travel to a different city, so if I go to Knoxville or Nashville right tomorrow and I'm looking for a restaurant and I see, obviously my wife's going to go in and look at reviews. Same exact concept. I'm looking at these 1 stars. I'm automatically losing trust. So think about when you're doing a response to an agent or a client's questions, are you giving 1-star answers or are you giving 5-star answers? And so that makes the biggest difference, because once they start losing trust in you, the conversation's already over. Like, it's going to be hard to battle back, right? 1 star will hurt a 12 5-stars almost immediately. Same exact concept comes with communication. And I think
I'm going to give a couple, 2 very small strategies, or maybe they're big strategies, but they become a habit of mine that I use. And one is how to agree and disagree in the same conversation. That is probably the most common thing we have to do as an agent, is agree and disagree. When I say agree, we're acknowledging what a client is saying and not getting defensive about it, but agreeing that they have that feeling. It doesn't mean you agree with their position or their perspective, because their perspective could be off. In other words, they say their home's worth $2.5 million. And like, wow, it's not worth more than 2.2, and you know why. And they looked at some data that it made them feel that way. Right. So if Jeremy said that to me, I can comfortably say, 2.5 million, I can see where that's coming from. Like, that's agreement. Doesn't mean I'm agreeing with it. And let's look at the information you have. Let's look at the information I have, and let's work through this together. And then we move into a new conversation to get a different agreement, which is 2.2.
And would you agree that most agents in the luxury space are dominant agents? Meaning we have a personality, right? We're strong personality agents. And so, for me, it's going back to building relationships with your husband, wife, spouse, and you have to figure out, how to talk right? For me, I messed up for 20 years. Like, for me, I'm always trying to solve a problem, but they don't want me to solve a problem, right? They want me to hear what they're saying and acknowledge what they feel. And then I can slowly give my thoughts, right? Because if I don't acknowledge their thoughts first, they don't care what I have to say. Same exact concept. It has to be, this is a relationship game. When you go to luxury real estate, relationship is 3 times the game. It's totally different.
In 2007, I had a coach, and he taught me one of my best lessons, because I am a talker and I want everybody to be happy, and I'm a pleaser, and I jump too quick sometimes. And I remember him telling me, and I took this from ever, because that was my personality. He said, Carrie, ask the question, and then I want you to be quiet and not say one word till they answer next. And that was so simple, but that was hard for me, because, and then I see others doing it as well. Because I think as agent personalities, we want to please, we're trying to help, and we're jumping in there. And that was one of the things in my career I still do today. And because I'm so hyper, I had to almost sit on my hand and like, okay, this is an uncomfortable silence, but it works. Instead of me trying to fill in what they were thinking, I waited for them to then tell me. And then like you said, Jeremy, then I had time to dissect and see which way to go from there. Someone on Instagram just DM'd us a message and said, have you had experience firing a seller? And yes, I have, but I'm gonna let these guys go for it.
Yeah, but you have to do it the right way, right? Yes. And usually, to me, for me at this point in my career, nearly every meeting I have with somebody, I'm in strong consultation mode. I am not in get the signature mode. I mean, I turn on get the signature mode when I sense the competition around me and I really want to get it and I have a motivated client. But I'm in consultation mode, meaning I'm advising them what they should do based on their situation. I'm not advising what they should do to sign with me. And so when I have a seller who's going sideways or their expectations are out of line with the market, and I cannot truly see a benefit for them to continue down the path that's continuing to hurt them, I'm going to get very vocal about it and tell them selling your property right now doesn't look like it's the right thing. It's it's not worth X based on what the market, how it's reacting. I think the better thing to do is, how do you mitigate the situation? You should either, if you live in a home, just enjoy it, right? Until it gets to where it's going to go. Or if you're not living in it, you need to create some financial cash flow with this instead of burning money, letting it sit on the market. Let's cancel the listing, go get some cash flow for a year or 2 or 3, and let's revisit the market then.
Well,
And you're coming from a consultative mindset. You're not just saying, hey, you're an asshole and I'm firing you, right? Which is what you want to say.
Right.
I just want to add to
when you're
that.
an advisor, that's the hat you just, being that advisor is exactly. And that sometimes means not taking the listing. It is advising them like, hey, like you said, you can cash flow this. I have won more business by that wasn't really a firing. That was just, I don't think you're in the right position to sell your home right now. Me giving them honest feedback rather than me just being there to try to get the listing. But I think also the question is, have you had a listing that you have serviced for a couple months and now you are releasing the seller for whatever reason? Maybe they refuse to come down on price. Maybe they're, I know a lot of times you go through a checklist, like, we're going to, touch up, you're going to declutter, you're going to do all these things, and they really don't. And you don't have showings, or all the showings come back with the same feedback. So have you had those positions and walked away from a seller? Obviously, I agree with you. I try not to burn any bridges, but, within this business, as long as we have of course, there's sellers that I know I have had to part ways with. How about you guys?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that you do it for one of 2 reasons. Usually their expectation and where the market is are not aligned. And you try to tell them that, and they probably would agree if it's a cordial and respectful relationship and you're there. The other is, you can run across sellers that aren't worth working with because their demands or their expectations are not in reality. Right. And whether they have personal emotional issues or whatever it is, it's like, it's a toxic relationship. Get out. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. There's more energy spent with people that don't have motivation or they don't have a positive experience for you, that it eats up the rest of your ability to go out and get business. You can remove one bad listing from your list of whatever you're dealing with, and all of a sudden goodness can flow in, right? You have the ability to attract the business you want, but you will deflect it if you take on business that you shouldn't.
It's like anything else. If you're in a bad relationship, you're not going to attract the person you should attract, right? So I think the big thing is communication and pre-framing to those sellers certain expectations and certain timelines. I shared at the thing, one of my philosophies with the 6115, that 6 showings, 1 offer, 15 days on the market. And if we don't have it, then I write right into the contract that it's going to adjust to this and that we're going to relaunch it. And, relaunching is another whole system altogether. Now, what I like to do, to answer a curious question, I have been in that situation before. And the way that I approach it is I give people options. I think when people have options, they don't feel cornered. They feel like they are the ones who have the final decision to make, which in all sincerity, it is true. They own the property, right? They just haven't realized that they're also the new buyer. So I'll say that again. They own the property. They haven't realized they are the buyer. They're the only buyer, right? So they're out of alignment with the market. And if for some reason they feel that I'm not doing things well or this and that, and it's not the right fit, I just tell myself, you guys, hey, this isn't my lesson to teach, right? So I'll just say, look, I think you'd be better off approaching it a different way. Here are the options. What would you like to do? You can stay. It's a beautiful property. You can stay in it. You can enjoy yourself. You can live your life. And we can circle back in 6 to 12 months and I'll have all the assets ready to go. That's one option. The second option would be you could rent it. but be aware of all the rental laws, especially in California, and how that's functioning right now. So you want to break that down. Or we can get really in alignment with the market because the market's speaking to us. So we either are going to listen to the market or are going to put our head in the sand and ignore the market. But you hired me to protect your equity. And the best way I can do that is by telling you the truth and sharing with you where I feel we need to be positioned in this market based on what the market is telling us. And that's it.
I love that.
One thing, Gary, that I'm sorry. One thing I was putting on all this is I wrote down here. There's one mistake that I see, especially luxury agents, but all agents in general, they make is when they get a listing, they think the listing strategy, the marketing of it all starts on when they put it on the MLS. And I'm like, that is the worst plan at all. Like, I literally saw an agent this morning on my social feed, and I sent him a DM because that's what I do. I sent him a DM and I said, wow, great job. Because I rarely see agents do this. And here's the deal. Here's what they did. They have a 110-acre property, very gorgeous property. They're going to be launching. Launching's the key word, not listing. You're not listing something, you're launching it because that's what you do. And so they're launching this property in like a week and a half, and they're prepping it now and all this stuff, but they've already started telling stories about it. So on Facebook, I saw 110-acre private island in Kentucky. And I'm like, okay, I want to know what this private island can take because there's not too many islands in Kentucky anyway. And so people already kind of like DM and asking questions. And what they did is they built anticipation for this listing. So you guys are worried about, the showings aren't happening, you're not getting offers, that kind of stuff. My question back would be, did we pre-market this property right? And so did we get the anticipation out right? And I think that makes the biggest difference. That's going to win listings for you right there. If you can visualize and show people what you're going to do different than other agents. Like for me, I'm marking the thing 14 days out. Yes, without breaking MLS laws. You can do that. You can actually share stories about what's coming up. You can actually, even tease a little bit what's coming up. And even though you're not showing it yet, I'm building a list of people that are interested in this property when I launch. So wouldn't it be cool to go to, hey, Mr. and Miss Seller, wouldn't it be great to say, hey, I'm already got a list of 14 people that are potentially interested in looking at your property when we launch this thing in 2 weeks. That is a big win for an agent, right? You're building ROI up. You're building, this is what I do with listings. And so most agents literally will take photos, do videos, and then they'll just post it the day it goes live. That's it. I'm like, what are we doing? Right? Come on.
Well, you three guys are three of my favorites to do any podcast with. I just love your information. I love how you pour into it. In closing, we will, when this listing was an amazing summit. If you have missed it, definitely reach out to us and we will get you the recording. There was so much information in there. And we're going to end it with this because I know that there are agents out there that have been in the business a long time. And y'all, we're always out there, all of us, we're always learning, we're always trying to get to that next level. There's always another level. But if you are that newer agent, I really love Ed and Pete when you all came in really hard on the summit along with Janie and Tina and everyone else on, don't be overwhelmed in this business. It's just like you said, Jeremy, sometimes it's like paralysis. Everybody just freezes because it's like, oh, how do I do all this? You just start going and you improve those systems as you go. And again, thank you guys. If you have closing remarks, we would love to hear them and then we'll wrap up.
My closing remark would be this. If you want to change your life, you want to change your business, you want to get more consistency, take massive action every single day. Yes. Put everything into action. Don't worry about what other agents are doing. Don't worry about what the market's doing. Don't worry about what mortgage rates are doing. Pick up the phone, be pumped up, know what you're going to say, get in front of people, build your relationships, get in front of your network and put it out there. So what I always say to people, I just relaunched a phenomenal listing, you guys, for everybody who's listening out there on the internet. And this house was bought by my seller a year and a half ago for $5 million. And I just relaunched it yesterday at 3.95. It's on 5 acres, 10 minutes outside of downtown Nashville. You own the whole top of the hill. It's convenient to everything. It's got great views. It's got phenomenal privacy, and it's a brand new 6,400 square foot house in phenomenal shape. So what I did was I picked up the phone. I called every person I could possibly think of, past clients, sphere of influence, everything. And I said, hey, which one of your friends would love to take advantage of this opportunity?
Love it.
And then I shut up. And what they're thinking psychologically is, well, Pete didn't ask me to take advantage of it. So what's wrong with me? And what they typically say is, well, is this something I should be looking at? And I say, oh my God, I never even thought of that. Maybe we should, right? And I usually send them a link to that site, and I'll put it in here in case anybody has anyone. Because
there you go, market it, baby.
I'm going to sell this. And
you are the Pete knows luxury.
And it didn't go through, but it's 663huntersTRL.com. So 663huntersTRL.com. That's my website. That's all the collateral. Everything's on there. And that's where you can see it. But contact me, send me somebody. I'll pay your referral. If I get somebody in that house, I guarantee you they're going to buy it, because I'm going to lock the front door and they won't know how to get it.
I love it. Thanks,
I know this isn't on the topic, but I have to ask, because someone must be wondering the answer. Why is it $1 million less than he paid for it a year ago?
It's a great question. The seller's life has changed, and he needs to sell it.
They're motivated.
They want to move it. We have a motivated seller.
The best recipe in this type of market is a motivated seller and a motivated buyer. That's the perfect recipe. That's it.
And that's an amazing price. So, in the location. Well, guys, again, thank you. Thank you to all our listeners. We are here every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time on some segment within luxury. Again, this one is the 4th Wednesday of every month, and we will see you next month on Luxury Legends and Leaders.
See y'all. Have a blessed one. See you guys.
Ciao.